We've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen in the world lately, and it seems like things are only getting crazier. In a couple of days, we're going to have a new president here in the US, and there's a lot going on in the world. So much uncertainty, so much that's completely out of our control. That's why I thought it'd be a good idea to go over some things that we should all be thinking of and be aware of, and how that affects our preparations for the rest of this year. You know, one thing that's been on my mind a lot lately is the whole global supply chain situation. We've seen how fragile it can be over the past few years, with various disruptions causing significant delays and shortages, and I think it's only a matter of time before we see more disruptions, given the current global climate. Now, I'm not saying that we're all going to be living in a Mad Max world or anything, but I do think it's wise to be prepared for the possibility of things getting a little bit more difficult. It's about being proactive rather than reactive. And one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that you have a good supply of essential items that you might not be able to get easily if there are more supply chain disruptions. This means thinking ahead and planning for the unexpected. Specifically, I'm talking about things that are imported from other countries. Because if there are tariffs or trade wars or any other kind of political instability, those are the things that are going to be the hardest to get your hands on. The impact of such events can be far-reaching and long-lasting. So, what are some of the essential imports that you should be thinking about? Let's dive into a few key items. Well, one big one is tires. They are crucial for transportation and mobility. A lot of people don't realize this, but a huge percentage of the tires that are sold in the US are actually made overseas. This makes them particularly vulnerable to supply chain issues. And if there are tariffs or trade wars, the price of tires could go through the roof, making it more expensive to maintain your vehicle. Another big one is solar generators. With the way things are going in the world, it's never a bad idea to have a backup power source. Power outages can happen unexpectedly, and having a reliable source of energy can be a lifesaver. And solar generators are a great option because they're relatively affordable and they don't require any gasoline or diesel to run. This makes them both cost-effective and environmentally friendly. But again, a lot of the components for solar generators are made overseas, so if there are trade disruptions, the price of those could go up as well. It's something to keep in mind when planning your emergency supplies. And then, of course, there are electronics, smartphones, laptops, tablets. All of that stuff is mostly made overseas. These devices are integral to our daily lives and communication. And while it's not necessarily essential to have the latest and greatest gadgets, it's still good to have a working phone and computer in case of an emergency. Staying connected can be crucial during crises. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy a whole bunch of this stuff right now and spend a ton of money. It's about being smart and strategic with your purchases. But I do think it's wise to start thinking about what essential imports you might need in the future and to start putting a little bit of money aside each month so that you can buy them if and when you need to. This way you won't be caught off guard. Another thing I'd add to that list is water containers. Now you might be thinking, Graham, water containers? Really? But hear me out. Water is one of the most critical resources we need. In a lot of parts of the world, people rely on bottled water for their drinking water. This dependency can become a major issue during supply chain disruptions. And if there are supply chain disruptions, bottled water is one of the first things that's going to disappear from store shelves. This can lead to panic buying and shortages. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy a year's supply of bottled water. That's not practical or necessary. But I do think it's wise to have a few extra water containers on hand just in case. This can provide peace of mind and ensure you have access to clean water. You can get them pretty cheaply at most sporting goods stores or online. They're a small investment for a significant benefit. And they're really good to have around, not just for emergencies, but for camping trips, road trips, or even just for everyday use. Versatility is key, so those are just a few of the essential imports that I think everyone should be thinking about. Being prepared can make all the difference in times of uncertainty. Let's talk about something that's not always the most exciting topic, but it's super important, especially in times like these. Financial preparedness. We all know the economy can be unpredictable. It's like that friend who's always up and down and you never know what you're going to get. But unlike that friend, the economy can seriously impact our lives. That's why being financially prepared isn't just about having a bunch of money stashed away. It's about having a solid plan and the right mindset to navigate whatever financial challenges come our way. It's about being proactive rather than reactive. And trust me, I've seen firsthand how important this is. When the real estate market crashed back in 2008, I was working as a real estate agent, and let me tell you, it was rough. People were losing their homes, their jobs, and their life savings. It was a really tough time for a lot of people. But you know what? Those who weathered the storm the best were the ones who were financially prepared. They had a plan, they had an emergency fund, and they weren't over-leveraged. They had taken steps to ensure they could handle financial shocks. So, what can you do to get financially prepared? Well, first things first, reduce your spending. But it's amazing how much money you can save just by cutting back on unnecessary expenses. Think about it. Do you really need that daily latte? Or that subscription to that streaming service you barely use? Probably not. By cutting back on these small expenses, you can free up a lot of money that you can then use to pay down debt or invest. Speaking of debt, that's the next thing you need to focus on. Debt is like a weight around your neck, dragging you down and holding you back from achieving your financial goals. If you're serious about getting financially prepared, you need to get serious about getting out of debt. There are a lot of different ways to do this, but the most important thing is to just start somewhere. Even if you can only afford to make small payments each month, it's better than nothing. And once you're out of debt, stay out of debt. It's so easy to fall back into the debt trap, especially with credit card companies constantly tempting us with offers for new cards and higher limits. But resist the temptation. The best way to avoid debt is to simply not spend money you don't have. Live within your means and practice financial self-control. Now, once you've got your spending under control and you're working on paying down your debt, it's time to start thinking about increasing your savings. Ideally, you want to have at least 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses saved up in an emergency fund. This will give you a cushion to fall back on if you lose your job, have a medical emergency, or have to deal with any other unexpected expenses. Once you've got your emergency fund built up, you can then start thinking about investing for the long term. Investing is one of the best ways to grow your wealth over time, but it's important to do it wisely. Research your options, diversify your investments, and consider seeking advice from a financial advisor to make informed decisions. Your health is your real wealth. Now, let's talk about something that's often overlooked when it comes to preparedness, your health. You see, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much food you've stockpiled, or how many guns you own. If you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to enjoy any of it. Plus, in a real crisis situation, your health is going to be your most valuable asset. You need to be able to think clearly, make quick decisions, and physically handle whatever challenges come your way. Your mental acuity and physical stamina are crucial in navigating through tough times. So, how can you make sure you're in tip-top shape? It's not just about hitting the gym. It's about a holistic approach to your well-being. Well, first and foremost, you need to ditch the sugar. I'm serious. Sugar is one of the most addictive and harmful substances on the planet. It's in everything these days, and it's wreaking havoc on our health. From cereals to sauces, sugar is hidden in plain sight. Sugar is linked to all sorts of health problems, including obesity, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. So, if you want to live a long and healthy life, you need to cut back on sugar as much as possible. It's a small change that can have a huge impact. Now, I know what you're thinking. Graham, you're killing me. What am I supposed to eat if I can't have sugar? Don't worry, I'm not saying you have to give up all sweets forever. There are plenty of natural and healthier alternatives. But you do need to be mindful of your sugar intake and make an effort to eat whole, unprocessed foods as much as possible. Fruits, vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats. These are the foods that are going to give you the energy and nutrients you need to thrive. They are the building blocks of a healthy body. Next up, let's talk about exercise. I know, exercise can be a drag. Exercise is so important for your physical and mental health. Regular physical activity is a cornerstone of a healthy lifestyle. Exercise helps to improve your cardiovascular health, strengthen your bones and muscles, boost your mood, and reduce your risk of developing chronic diseases. And the best part is, you don't have to go to the gym or spend hours working out to reap the benefits of exercise. Even just 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise most days of the week can make a big difference. Consistency is key. So, get out there and go for a walk, ride your bike, go for a swim, or do whatever type of exercise you enjoy. The important thing is to stay active. Finally, let's talk about stress. Stress is a killer, literally. It weakens your immune system, increases your risk of developing chronic diseases, and can even shorten your lifespan. Chronic stress is a silent enemy. So it's important to find healthy ways to manage stress. This could involve things like meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, listening to music, or spending time with loved ones. Find what brings you peace. The key is to find what works for you and to make time for stress-relieving activities on a regular basis. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Your health is your wealth, so make sure you're taking care of yourself both physically and mentally. Your future self will thank you. A couple of weeks ago, I showed some of my favorite preps from 2024 that would be great to have in 2025, and you can check those out by clicking here. Or if you want to see canned goods every prepper should stockpile, then click here. Thank you all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.